The Galactic Council had seen many species come and go. Some were smart, some were strong, but none could match the pride of the Zarnathi. Tall, armored, and cold-eyed, they ruled much of known space. To them, humans were a joke. When news spread that Earth had sent its first explorers to a Zarnathi-controlled world, the Council did not worry. They laughed. Ship, like they were walking onto a training field. The air was thin, the gravity harsh, and predators roamed the wilds. Yet the humans didn't panic. They built shelter, then fear their scouts. Reported strange things humans, smiling while bleeding. No other species acted like this. One Zarnathi commander recorded a message. Asterisk, we thought we knew strength. We thought we knew warriors. But these humans, they are something else. Asterisk, by the end of the week, the aliens stopped laughing. By the end of the month, they started asking questions. Who were these humans? Why weren't they afraid? And what else were they capable of? This wasn't just survival, it was a warning. More was coming, much more. The planet was a graveyard, barren, freezing. No air to breathe, no shelter for thousands of miles. To most species, it was a death sentence. But not to the humans. When the Zarnathi dropped them on the surface as a test, survive if you can. They didn't beg or scream. They stepped out, looked around, and got to work. They wore basic suits, not the high-tech armor the aliens expected. Fixed broken gear with scraps. Slept under the stars like it was normal. Above, the alien fleet watched in silence. One commander asked, asterisk, why aren't they dying? Asterisk, every hour that passed, the tension grew. The humans didn't panic when their oxygen levels dropped. They waited it out, and then something changed. The aliens began taking notes, watching every move, trying to understand how a species from a weak little planet could laugh while freezing. This was only the beginning. The Zarnathi had seen humans survive on barren rocks, frozen wastelands, and poison air. But they still didn't understand one thing. Why did the humans act like this was normal? So they asked. One alien commander stood face to face with a human explorer and said, "You call this survival. We call it suicide." The human just smiled. He looked around at the deadly landscape, the sharp winds, the toxic rain. Human files were leaked to the Galactic Council. Old training reports, old missions from Earth's history, enough to crush steel. Some humans even chose to suffer just to test themselves. One Zarnathi general muttered, "They don't fear death, they chase it." That's when the truth hit hard. Earth wasn't a weak planet, it was a proving ground, and every human who walked off-world was already battle-tested. Now the galaxy wasn't just watching, it was worried. He was alone, lost behind enemy lines. No backup, no signal. And then he heard it. The beast of Varkistan meters tall, armored like a tank with claws that could tear through steel. It was a living weapon, bred for war by the Zarnathi. No prisoner had ever survived its hunt. But this time, the prey fought back. The human scout didn't run. He didn't scream. He watched, studied, waited. When the beast charged, he moved not away, but he found its weak spot. With one quick strike, he drove his blade deep and climbed on top. What happened next spread across the galaxy like fire. Video footage showed a single man riding a roaring monster. When it finally fell, he stood over it, breathing hard but smiling. Above, hidden in the trees, Zarnathi scouts recorded everything. One whispered, "That's not possible." Back at command, generals watched the video in silence. Then they asked one question. Are we fighting soldiers? Others called it legend. But the truth was simple. Humans weren't just surviving Deathworlds, they were hunting them. And now, the galaxy knew. Most species built cities to hide from danger. Humans built fire pits. Right in the middle of it, when the Zarnathi saw what the humans had done, they thought it was a mistake, a joke, a death wish. But at WASN, single quotes, the human team didn't just survive on the deadly jungle world of Zyros, they celebrated. They set up camp in the open, lit a fire, roasted food, and laughed while predators watched from the dark. One alien officer asked, "Why aren't they afraid?" Another replied, "Maybe they don't feel fear like we do." It started with dinner under the stars. Then came the music. One human pulled out a small speaker and played loud beats that echoed through the trees. Animals growled, shadows moved, But the humans didn't run. They danced. The Zarnathi sent warnings. "You are not safe here." The humans answered, "We're never safe." That's the point. Stunned by how calm the humans stayed, one Zarnathi soldier said, "On my planet, this would be a war zone." A human grinned and said, "To us, it's home." And that's when the aliens realized something terrifying. They weren't dealing with explorers or soldiers. Anymore, they were dealing with legends. Legends who cooked dinner while the world tried to kill them. The Zarnathi had studied many species. Humans exhausted yet still moving humans surrounded by danger and smiling like they were winning. One commander asked, "Do they not understand death?" A scientist replied, "Maybe they do, and maybe. That's why they don't fear it." Their tech wasn't better, but something deep inside them kept pushing forward when every other species would stop. They called it the fire. It burned in every human, from soldiers to engineers to medics. It drove them to climb higher, dig deeper, fight longer. Even when they failed, they tried again. One alien officer watched a human drag an injured teammate across burning sand for miles. No water, no rest, no hope. When he finally reached help, he collapsed with a grin and said, "Worth it. No other." Race said that another report showed a human waking up after a crash. Tough. They were built for hardship. And now, the galaxy was starting to wonder if humans saw death as just another challenge. What could ever truly stop them? The Zarnathi were losing the battle of fear. No matter what world they sent humans to, they survived. They laughed, they thrived. So the aliens decided to test something new. They set up an experiment to groups. One planet, poison plants, predators, with claws like knives. Scared to make mistakes, the humans. They ran into the wild like it was a game. They made traps from sticks, found clean water by watching birds, built shelters before nightfall. Two Zarnathi were injured. One had food poisoning, bruised, tired, but still standing at the end of the week. Them. Now the truth was clear. Even human kids were stronger than most grown warriors, and in the stars above, the galaxy started to feel something new. Not respect, not fear, but worry. The Zarnathi were done testing luck. If humans could survive Deathworlds, aliens, and even their own bodies, then it was time for something designed to break them. So they built the gauntlet. A maze of traps. Predators, heat, cold, darkness, and silence. No maps, no rules, just survival. 10 humans were dropped in, no weapons, no gear, just what they could carry. The Zarnathi watched from above, waiting for screams. Instead, they heard laughter. One human pulled out a small camera and started recording. "Welcome to Hardcore Survival, Alien Edition," he said with a grin. "Let's see how long we last." What followed shocked everyone. The humans didn't panic. They worked together. One used a belt as a rope. Another made a torch from broken wires and fuel. They solved traps like puzzles, dodging spikes and fire pits like it was part of the plan. And they talked through it all. "Hey, if I fall, don't forget to upload this. Don't step there unless you hate your feet. This place is worse than high school pay." Alien scientists stared at the footage in disbelief. One officer asked, "Are they scared?" A commander replied, "I think they're having fun." By day 5, half the traps were disarmed. By day 7, the humans had reached the exit-hand instead of leaving. They went back in to help others. The Zarnathi finally understood. This wasn't survival, it was entertainment. And now, the galaxy knew one more thing. Humans didn't just beat danger, they played with it like it was nothing. It started with respect. Then came silence. The Zarnathi weren't the only aliens watching anymore. Other species, those who once laughed at Earth, were now studying it. Some even tried to befriend humans, hoping to learn from them. But something strange happened. The closer they got, the more uneasy they felt. One friendly alien race, the Varelians, invited a human team to their homeworld for peace talks. They offered food, shelter, and open skies. But as the days passed, the Varelians began noticing things. Humans didn't rest like others. They didn't fear pain like others. And when danger showed up, a wild beast escaped from a zoo, they didn't run. They chased it. A Varelian leader watched in shock as one human, barely armed, tackled the creature head-on, while others filmed and cheered. Later, he asked, "You could have died." The human just shrugged and said so. That word echoed in the Varelian's mind long after the meeting ended. Back on their ships, alien diplomats shared reports. Secret messages flew between planets. They fight like gods. They laugh while bleeding. Even their kindness feels dangerous. Some still wanted peace. Others weren't so sure. One officer whispered what many were thinking. What if we're not making friends? What if we're letting predators into our homes? And so a new fear spread, not just among enemies, but among friends, because the galaxy had made room for one more species. Only to realize that species might change everything, Kapiask explained the offer came from the Galactic Council, a seat at the table, full access to alien tech, trade routes, and protection. In return, humans had to follow the laws of the Empire. Wars without permission, no unapproved missions, no rogue actions. It was a deal no other young species would ever refuse, so the galaxy waited, would Earth accept, or walk away. In a quiet room on a floating station, the human delegation stood before hundreds of alien eyes. No uniforms, no flags behind them, just a small team with one big decision, one human, an older officer with scars that told 1,000 stories. Stepped forward. He looked at the Zarnathi commander, who once called humans weak, at the who now feared their kindness, at the diplomats who watched like scientists studying fire. Then he spoke, "We've survived Deathworlds. We've fought monsters. We've laughed while bleeding, but we've never followed orders just because someone said so." Silence filled the room. Then he smiled. "Thanks for the offer, but we prefer our way." And with that, the humans turned and walked away. No war declared, no threats made, just a simple choice to stay free back on Earth. The message spread fast, across cities, bases, and space stations. Humans watched the moment again and again. Some cheered. Others just nodded like they knew it would happen, because that's who they were. Not conquerors, not gods, just people who refused to kneel. And as the humans left the station, one Zarnathi officer whispered what the whole galaxy now knew. They don't need to rule us, they already do. Because fear doesn't always come with weapons. Sometimes it comes with a smile and a shrug. So, Kapiask